You have to do that.
You retain your.
Oh, I mean,
Where did you grow up?
6 years, 6 months ago.
You still follow your.
I was there. I was there for 1980. The 1985 was up to be on the ALC. That was terrible. The opening Sky Road, which is now Rogers Center. But we finally won those back to back.
Was that 94 or 5?
92,
93, right? Yeah.
Had the big Joe Carter.
Joe Carter.
Had the big Joe Carter mounted picture of the Toronto
Ex-Cub.
Star. Yeah. That was that trade put them over the top. It was Joe Carter and Roberto.
Earl Alomar from Fred McGriff.
And somebody else.
Stuff.
You know your stuff, right?
Yeah,
McGriff,
baseball
somebody
nerd.
else.
For Crime Dog, yeah.
Crime Dog, and who else? Someone else went back to the pond.
Mickey Morandini.
That's tough.
Crime Dog and, no, I think it was it was like a 2 for 2. It was amazing.
Those teams were nasty.
There's another big name, you're right. It was Crime Dog and somebody else.
Carter was the catcher.
Gary Sheffield, maybe?
No.
Who was that catcher?
Who, the Jay? Pat Waters. He won the MVP that year. He won the playoff. What?
Well, no, I'm good.
So you guys have stolen our weekend assignment editor. He's coming again.
We stole it back.
He's coming back?
She started with us.
Carrie?
Yeah.
Oh,
She was an intern with us and,
that was she is going to do this. Look at that.
Charlie.
hello.
What's up, buddy? How are you? Long time no see.
You did
She's
ages.
good though?
She's upstairs.
Well, we just lost 2 really good ones.
You'll have to bug her a little bit. She's the queen of.
Tony Fernandez.
Tony Fernandez, of course. I knew it was, of course it was a stud.
Sorry, I gotta keep.
Yeah, I knew it was someone big, but you'll have to bug her about her ability to trade Disney passes. Because she was always, we get Disney passes, and she was always soliciting them for, no one went to Disney with her, or people at her family. It was,
How many universal passes?
yeah, which is what my kid wanted. Harry Potter.
One of these days.
Did they announce that, Charlie?
Yeah, in a morning meeting.
When we go to the, last one, and get my glasses on, but this will go flying up.
Someone had a great time, we're not gonna scare her.
No.
Actually, we're right over there.
Things have never been better.
We're expecting to hear a little bit more about how she identified as the upcoming further hotspot as fall. It's really not that's good. So there's some studies out there saying that.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's briefing on the status of COVID-19 in Illinois. To start with, I'll turn it over to our IDPH Director, Ngozi Ezike, for today's medical update.
I am a firm believer in the people. If given the truth, they can be depended upon to meet any national crisis. The great point is to bring them the real facts. That's a quote from Abraham Lincoln. I shared this quote on March 30th, and I think now, even more than 4 months later, these words are still so true. The great point is to bring them the real facts. That's what we're trying to do here. I'm privileged to serve the state of Illinois at this pivotal time in history by bringing you the real facts. And here are some of those facts. In the last 24 hours, more than 42,000 lab results have been reported for a total of more than 3.1 million tests performed. Another fact, over the last 24 hours, 1,645 new Illinoisans were diagnosed with COVID-19, and unfortunately, 16 individuals have passed on. This brings the total number of cases in Illinois to 198,593, and the total lives lost, 7,672. 1,525 individuals are hospitalized throughout Illinois with COVID-19. Of those, 357 are in the ICU, and 129 are on ventilators. My concern is growing each day about the direction our numbers are going. And I'm not concerned about numbers just for numbers' sake. Remember that numbers increasing actually represents people infected with this new virus. And those people infected with the new virus can go on to get sick, and those people who are sick can go on to be hospitalized, and those people who are hospitalized can go on to have very severe complications, including and up to death. And no, it's not that every new diagnosis leads to death. Nobody is trying to over-dramatize. It's absolutely not the case. Most people actually have mild to moderate symptoms that clear within a few weeks. But we don't know about the long-term effects. And there are smaller numbers that suffer severe symptoms, and in some cases, of course, death. And yes, the older you are, the higher the risk, but we also know that people of all ages have passed on from this virus. More facts. At the beginning of May, we saw the number of people going to the emergency department for COVID-like symptoms decrease. But since the beginning of July, that number started increasing again. The number of cases we're reporting each day has also been increasing. The positivity rate has been increasing. These are all facts. So let's bring the numbers down by using simple but effective tools that we do have to fight against this enemy. That includes masking, hand washing, and distancing, 6 feet. Businesses are hurting financially, families of loved ones in nursing homes are hurting emotionally, kids unable to be in school may be hurting mentally, and many of us are hurting socially. For those of you who have lost friends or families to COVID-19, you know what the worst case scenario looks like. We as individuals and as communities have been traumatized to varying degrees by this virus and ensuing pandemic. Fact, this is not a normal event. And as all trauma, this has caused alternating and varying amounts of fear, of anxiety, of panic, and for some, denial. We're all faced with tough decisions, and these tough decisions and tough questions require even tougher answers. And no answer satisfies everyone. But we're all in this together, like it or not, and your actions impact me, and my actions impact you. So we need to be decent and understanding and respectful of each other. Even if you think that masks don't help, then prove us wrong. Ask everyone to wear a mask, and let's prove to the scientists that, in fact, they don't decrease the mask wearing. Let's give it a shot. Please wear the mask. We have to wear it correctly. That means making sure your nose is covered as well, not just your mouth. Let's do what's right. Protect ourselves. Let's protect each other. Let's wear our mask. Let's wash our hands. Let's maintain 6 feet of distancing. What do we really have to lose? Creo firme en la gente. Si compartes la verdad, puedes depender en ellos para enfrentar cualquier crisis nacional. El gran punto es traerlos los hechos reales. El gran punto es traer los hechos reales. Tengo el privilegio de servir al Estado de Illinois en este momento crucial de la historia, trayendo los hechos reales. Estos son algunos de esos hechos. Hoy reportamos más de 1,600 personas nuevas con COVID-19 y 16 personas con COVID-19 que han perdido su vida. En total hay más de 98,000 casos de COVID-19 reportados en el estado y el número total de vidas perdidas son más de 7,600. Desde anoche, 500 personas en Illinois estaban en el hospital con COVID-19. De ellos, 357 pacientes estaban en la unidad de cuidados intensivos y 129 pacientes estaban en ventiladores. En las últimas 24 horas, más de 42,000 pruebas de COVID-19 fueron hechas. Mi preocupación crece cada día sobre la dirección de nuestros números. Un recuerdo, el número de casos confirmados nos dice que más gente se infecta y enferma y luego van al hospital y posiblemente este puede resultar en más muertes. No conocemos los efectos a largo plazo. Es una pequeña minoría que sufre síntomas graves y en algunos casos la muerte. Y sí, la gente de mayor edad tiene más riesgo. Sin embargo, ha habido muertes en todas las edades, incluidas personas menores de 30 años. En principios de julio comenzamos a ver los números crecer de personas visitando al Departamento de Emergencias. El número de casos confirmados que reportamos cada semana también ha aumentado, al igual la tasa de positividad. Tenemos que reducir los números de casos confirmados y tomar medidas preventivas que todos sabemos que funcionan para evitar una segunda ola seria. Es difícil, lo sé, las empresas están sufriendo económicamente, los niños que no pueden ir a la escuela pueden sufrir daños mentales y muchos de nosotros sufrimos socialmente. Nosotros como individuos y como comunidades hemos sido traumatizados en diversos grados por este virus y esta pandemia. Esto no es un evento normal. Como todo trauma, esta ha causado cantidades alternas y variables de miedo, ansiedad, pánico y en algunos casos negación. Estamos juntos en esta lucha. Tus acciones me impactan y mis acciones te impactan a ti. Por favor, haga lo correcto. Usa tu cubrecara y no olvide cubrir tu nariz, no solo tu boca. Lava tus manos y mantenga tus distancias. Gracias para su apoyo. And with that, I will turn it back over to Governor Pritzker.
Well, thank you very much, Doctor. Dr. Ezike and I are joined today by the Acting Director of the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, Michael Negron, by Karen Freeman Wilson, the President and CEO of the Chicago Urban League, and by Vanetta Roy, owner of South Shore Surf here in Chicago. I want to dedicate today's conversation to the economic pain that COVID-19 has visited upon us. Just like the virus attacks our most vulnerable people, it also hits our most vulnerable parts of our economy. It's our small businesses, our working families, our communities of color that have paid the highest price. Fighting the virus's effects on the health and safety of Illinoisans has been a top priority for me from the very beginning. And battling the economic effects of COVID has been just as important. Months ago, I recognized that we needed to prevent a housing crisis, so I banned residential evictions and placed a moratorium on utility shutoffs. Protecting jobs has been a top priority too, so I halted vehicle repossessions and launched new small business support programs. In June, we expanded assistance for those in need of food and temporary shelter, help with utility bills, and other essential services. And 2 days ago, I launched the largest rental assistance program in the nation. Today, I'm building on our work to preserve jobs and save small businesses. I'm proud to announce the first $46 million of our business interruption grant program that has been deployed now to help more than 2,600 small businesses in over 400 cities and towns across Illinois. That's 78 of our 102 counties. The initial focus of these grants has been on businesses that have been most severely impacted by COVID-19. Those that were completely shut down in the spring, and those that are in COVID-impacted areas that experienced property damage amidst the looting and civil unrest in June. Overall, the BIG program will support thousands of small businesses who have suffered losses due to the COVID pandemic, with a substantial allotment set aside specifically for child care providers, an essential underpinning of our workforce for countless working families. The federal PPP program seems to have overlooked too many entrepreneurs and small shops, and it was important to me and to the General Assembly to ensure that small businesses, which employ the largest number of people in Illinois, get the help that they need. That's why we gave priority to businesses who haven't received PPP and capped annual revenues of those businesses at $3 million or less in this initial round of funding. To ensure an equitable and efficient review and distribution in this first round of funding, the DCEO worked with community-based grant administration partners across the state. Going forward, we're taking that partnership a step further, investing $1 million in outreach and making sure that we're reaching the entrepreneurs of color through 4 community navigator partners, including the Chicago Urban League. Because a historical lack of support in communities of color is an unacceptable barrier to accessing critical resources. I am committed to supporting communities that have long suffered disinvestment. Our effort to support families and revitalize our economy are ongoing, and I intend to do everything in my power to alleviate the pain that COVID is inflicting across Illinois. Before I hand the podium over, I want to build on the updates that Dr. Ezike provided on COVID-19. Across the state, our 11 Restore Illinois regions are trending in different directions, the majority of which are negative. Comparing yesterday's data to a week ago, regions 2, 3, 4, 7, and 9 have all seen an increase in their 7-day rolling average positivity rates. Regions 1, 5, 10, and 11 have the same average as a week ago. Only regions 6 and 8 have seen a slight drop. I'll remind everyone that if a region experiences 7 out of 10 days of an increasing positivity rate, plus a sustained 7-day increase in hospital admissions, that triggers tougher mitigations for that region. 3 consecutive days of a positivity rate averaging 8% or more will also lead to automatic state action. I want to emphasize again that local officials should pay close attention to the data for their communities, and where necessary, step up and impose greater mitigations on a targeted basis to bring down the number of infections or the positivity rate. Otherwise, it will only be a matter of time before the state will be forced to step in and roll things back on a regional basis, something none of us wants. And as the General Assembly formally upheld yesterday, local governments now have an additional way to keep their residents safe. There is a new statewide IDPH rule that gives communities and businesses a greater ability to enforce masks and distancing, and protects businesses that act in good faith from being penalized because of their competitors who are acting in bad faith. The virus is still among us and will be until a treatment or vaccine is developed. And in the meantime, masking and distancing are 2 of the most important things that we can do to stay healthy and safe during this pandemic. So thank you, and with that, I'd like to turn it over to our acting DCEO Director, Michael Negron. Michael?
Well, thank you for that introduction, Governor. My name is Michael Negron. I am currently the acting director of the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, DCO for short. I want to start off by just noting how excited that we at DCO are to be able to announce this first wave of BIG, or BIG, as we affectionately call the program, grants. And I think it's fitting that we're making this announcement with Director Ezike, and that the governor mentioned the new rule regarding masks, because ultimately revitalizing our economy must start with getting the pandemic under control. That means following the public health guidelines, wearing a mask, maintaining a safe social distance of 6 feet, and washing your hands regularly. As Governor Pritzker just mentioned, the first round of our Illinois Business Interruption Grants, or the BIG program, will extend a lifeline to more than 2,600 businesses with $46 million in grants, ranging from $10,000 to $20,000 grants, to cover losses due to the economic downturn created by this pandemic. These businesses represent our local barbers, local restaurants, gyms, and much, much more. They are part of the fabric of their communities. In developing this program, the DCO team and the governor's office made equity a central focus of the program, and we can see it in the results. Half of the businesses receiving awards today in this round are minority-owned. More than $24 million in grants will benefit businesses in zip codes that have been disproportionately hit hard by this pandemic. Overall, this round of big grants will support businesses across 400 communities, from Springfield to Schaumburg, Peoria and Rockford, Aurora, from Chicago on down to Carbondale. But we know that there are thousands more that still need help. That's why DCO is working with the governor's team to finalize plans for additional rounds, which will continue to support businesses that have faced reduced operations or suffered a major dent in foot traffic, like restaurants and retail. But at the same time, the next rounds of BIG will include targeted initiatives for other sectors that may not return to normal for many months, such as performing arts and live music venues, event spaces, indoor recreational facilities, movie theaters, and more. Upcoming waves of grants will also follow the equity and fairness goals established by the governor and the General Assembly, with more than half of available funds devoted to downstate and roughly 1/3 in communities that have been hit hard by the pandemic. We expect to open the application for the next wave of funds in the coming weeks. Businesses who want to learn more or stay in touch to follow updates can visit our website at illinois.gov/DCEO. That's illinois.gov/DCEO. But we know it's not enough just to post an application online and hope for the best. There's a long history of small and minority-owned businesses having trouble accessing the resources they need to invest and to grow, as well as to access loans and other government programs. That's why, with a $1 million investment, DCO will strengthen its minority business outreach by partnering with 4 new community navigators. These partners will help train and assist small business organizations statewide to provide the technical assistance that businesses need to apply successfully to BIG and other programs. Our partners include the Illinois Business Immigration Coalition, the Greater Auburn Gresham Development Corporation, the Resurrection Project, and of course the Chicago Urban League. Now I'd like to introduce Karen Freeman Wilson of the Chicago Urban League, a great partner of ours and a longtime small business advocate who will help us make this program and others like it as much of a success as possible. Thank you.
Good afternoon. First, I would like to thank Governor Pritzker and Director Negron on behalf of all of the grant administrators and community navigators for the opportunity to partner with you in this essential program. Here's what we understand. Every day, we encounter members of the small business community in our daily work at the Chicago Urban League. We know that small business is particularly the lifeblood of the communities on the south and west sides. We also know that the thriving of a small business can present the opportunity to develop or narrow, I should say, the wealth gap in these communities. And so like many of you, none of those business owners thought at the beginning of the year, as they planned for the growth and expansion of their businesses, that they would be hit by first a pandemic and the closing of most of those businesses as a result of that pandemic, and then the civil unrest that led to further destruction in those businesses. And so, Governor, as you've already said, this program presents a tremendous opportunity for those businesses. Because even though they come to us to ask for advice about marketing during a pandemic or pivoting their product through a pandemic or thinking ahead to look towards the next interruption in their business, as good as that advice and mentoring may be, there is nothing that can change the trajectory of a business like the infusion of revenue. And so that's what we have been able to do through this program. But not only that, it allows us to get the word out, to market, if you will, on behalf of the state, to make sure that everyone who might be eligible for this program can, in fact, gain access through our Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation. I know from experience as a small business owner that this program can be the difference between sustaining your business through a difficult time and having to suspend operation either temporarily or permanently. And so we are happy to be a partner and pledge our continued partnership, not just with the state, but for the communities and the businesses that we serve. And we want to provide our thanks on behalf of those businesses. Now, we're excited at this time to introduce one of those business owners. Her name is Vanetta Roy, and she is the owner of Surf's Up in Old Town and in South Shore. And as she will tell you, it's a business that I'm sure we'd all love to patronize. Ms. Roy.
Thank you, Karen, for the introduction. I am very excited about being a recipient of the BIG grant offered through the state of Illinois and Governor Pritzker. As a Chicago public school teacher and a business owner, I understand the importance of employment within the communities that we serve. Therefore, this money will be used for hiring, training, and to fully get back on track as we were prior to the events of COVID-19 and the civil unrest. As a Black woman in business, this money will allow me to continue to progress and to be successful and to show that we as a people can be just as successful as anyone else. I would like to thank Governor Pritzker, the state of Illinois, for this opportunity, and I would also like to thank Tyre Trice with the South Shore Chamber, who has been supportive throughout my entire journey of 6 years in the South Shore community. Thank you. I'm going to turn this back over to Governor Pritzker.
Thank you very much for that. I want to just make one remark about, how heroic our small business owners are. and the work that Chicago Urban League does to support those small business owners. This is a very, very trying time. It's a trying time for small businesses even in normal times. Small businesses struggle all the time to get up and running, to find the capital to get up and running, to survive, to eventually get to becoming profitable, and to have something like a coronavirus pandemic knock you down. A little bit of help from the state of Illinois, and a little bit of help from advisors and the good folks at Chicago Urban League and other navigators and supporters makes all the difference. And I just wanted to acknowledge the heroic efforts of our small business people in this very, very difficult time. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions from members of the media. Yes, sir.
Governor, thanks very much. Dr. Zeke is saying that the numbers were looking good in May. They were going down on all measures, and the numbers were going the wrong way in July, including the positivity rate. Now at ABC News, we've just learned that a very well-known forecast out of Philadelphia is saying, this is from the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, is saying that Chicago is going to be one of the upcoming hotspots, along with perhaps Boston and Baltimore. That the next 4 weeks are going to be, the forecast is not good. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think you've seen me, heard me say for the last several weeks that this is a make or break moment for Illinois and for the city of Chicago. That is why I've traveled the entire state. I've spent every day focused on how to bring these numbers down. We're doing everything that we can in this process. We're monitoring closely. We're encouraging local efforts toward mitigations, because that can have an enormous impact at the local level, the hot spots that are occurring across the state. If we can bring those numbers down, and you've seen the work at the city of Chicago to do that too, we're all working hard to get this done. It's why the rule that we got passed yesterday was so important. It's one more step in a series of steps along a path to make sure that we don't become a hot spot.
One of the things they're saying specifically, Charlie, if I could, especially in Cook County, trips to non-essential businesses have fallen less than a third of their pre-pandemic levels, when what the recommendation is, it should be about half. Are you worried that people are still moving around too much, that they're forgetting, that they're making the mistakes that we made earlier?
So, number one, there's no doubt, as you've seen the mobility data, that has an impact on transmission rates. But you know what has an even bigger impact on transmission rates to bring them down? Wearing a mask, making sure that you're maintaining social distance. That has a tremendously positive effect, and it's why I've been talking it up so much. It's why we have a campaign running on social media, on television, and otherwise, and it's why I wanted to get the rule passed. To be clear, we don't want to go back to where we're shutting things down. We don't want to. It's the last thing that's on my mind if I can avoid it. But the truth is that if we keep going in the wrong direction, we will inevitably get there. If we keep moving in the wrong direction. That's why I want everybody to take personal responsibility. It's why I want businesses to take responsibility for those indoor spaces that they control. And it's why it's so important that kids going back to school, parents, teachers, paraprofessionals, and so on, that everybody wear a mask and maintain social distance. Because we can get through this if everybody will do that. You've heard that from the experts. You saw I had a press conference on Sunday with some of the best experts in the world, who said exactly what I just said. We can lick this thing. If people will just follow those basic rules, we can get our transmission rates down significantly.
To that end, Governor, might you be at one point requiring masks to be worn outside as well as inside, and perhaps setting up some kind of structure to enforce that?
Well, we do now have a mask mandate, even outside. If you're outside and walking around and can't maintain social distance, which, by the way, on a typical busy street in the city of Chicago, you can't maintain social distance without a mask. You just can't. People walking by each other, you're coming in close proximity to someone who, by the way, is facing you. And people in front of you who might be aspirating, or they might be coughing or, sneezing or whatever. Those particles remain in the air. And if you don't wear a mask, and if they're not wearing a mask, then there is a much easier ability to transmit the virus. have to wear masks, and very important, even in rural areas of Illinois. If you're going to an area, a town, a business, a gathering spot for people in your area, and you're going to be in close proximity with people, wear a face covering.
Is that a mandatory?
It is. It's mandatory in the state of Illinois. We have a mask mandate in the state of Illinois, and obviously we passed a rule yesterday that assists us mightily, and mostly assists businesses in trying to make sure that their competitors who are not following those mandates are now required to.
Governor, I'd like to
Yes.
ask a question about the civil unrest. Black Lives Matter Chicago had a protest demonstration outside CPD District 1 on Monday, in which they were demanding that freedom fighters be released and saying that this was people being called for taking reparations from corporations. Basically, they were in support of looters saying our lives have been looted. I'd like your thoughts about that.
Well, I don't know what was said at that rally, so let me just say several things. First of all, anybody who is looting or shooting or breaking the law should be held responsible, period, end of sentence. So, let's set that as a baseline. People who are protesting and voicing their concerns and standing up for people's rights and doing it in a peaceful fashion, they have every right to do that. But those are two very different things. And we need to at least recognize that all of us who have stood up for Black Lives Matter, who care deeply about the city, are standing up for the right to peacefully protest and standing up for the fact that black communities, frankly, all communities of color have been disinvested from, and that it's time for us to step up and do the right thing. This is part of what you're hearing us do here, even with the BIG program.
There's one more question.
About the BIG program, 46 million basically has been identified now to go out to
Yep.
clients. The original thought was 60. Is that possible to get any bigger?
Bigger than 60? Because this certainly will get to the 60, that's for sure. Yes, there is an allocation, hundreds of millions more is allocated in the budget, I might add. So this is, a program that's going out there. We just, you have to do it in tranches. You want to make sure you're focusing it, getting it right, giving it to the people who need it most. That takes just a little bit of time, application process and so on. And so we've got the first 60 million, well, 48 million, and the rest will go out shortly. And then there'll be other tranches that we'll be announcing and getting the money out to people. It's important for us to move as quickly as we can, but also responsibly, so that we don't see the problems that the federal government programs often have had, where they don't really have the proper rules in place, and then you end up with issues, problems, fraud, et cetera. But that is something that I think we're avoiding by doing it through DCEO and through a specialized application-based process.
Can I ask this question, Representative Jonathan Carroll, you'll like this, Robbie, ask whether you would consider moving non-contact hockey to a lower level. Hockey is at a high risk.
Are you a hockey player? Is that why you're, okay, very good. All right, so I better tread carefully, is that what you're saying?
And the fact that
Yeah.
basketball is
Yeah.
at a lower risk than hockey.
Yeah.
But hockey itself, there's no contact. You're wearing a mask, you're wearing a helmet, you're
Yeah.
wearing gloves.
Let me be clear, we take all requests seriously like that. These are things that I don't make personal decisions about because I'm not a doctor. We consult with IDPH. This is a process that runs through, as you know, DCEO, which issues the guidance for everybody. And so that is all being done. I've certainly heard from people who care deeply about hockey and making sure that, that there's an opportunity for people to play. And like I said, about so many other mitigations here that, are interfering with people's lives. Like, these are the last things that I want to do. That all we're trying desperately to do is to, do the best thing we can to keep people safe and healthy. And, we'll try to get it right wherever we can. And we like to take advice from experts, who play hockey, as well as people who understand sports, but understand that all needs to go through a group of experts that we rely upon for health and safety advice.
All right, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Any thought about Kamala Harris?
I think she's a terrific choice. You know, I was a Tammy Duckworth fan, and, you know, I think she's wonderful. But Kamala Harris is a great choice for Joe Biden. She'll be a great vice president for the United States.